So decisiveness and choices need to be made. And so once you help somebody make those choices and they agree, okay, I'm going to give this a shot, I'm going to do this, and they start jumping in and they get into this conscious competence and they start doing the processes, they start following the systems, and they begin to understand that, okay, maybe I can do this. They're taking baby steps through this whole process, and they're gaining something. Now, during this process, they are going to encounter hard times. It's not going to be easy, just like we talked about with driving the car. If you're always needing to focus, put your focus on what you're doing, that's a hard time. There are obstacles you got to get through. After a while, if it takes too long to get good at something, it might cost too much. Maybe it's too much effort to go through in order to get really good at something. And a coach is the person that can keep pushing them on, keep pushing, keep them focused on the end result. And so we go from conscious competence then, in order to go from conscious competence to unconscious competence, so that it's actually unconscious and you're doing it on your own. There has to be discipline in place. There has to be habits. Habits are being developed at this point. And so a coach is the one that helps people develop habits, good habits. Self management. This is where self management is important, where you just keep going, you push, and you keep going, and you get good at it. And when you get good at it, you don't stop. You just keep getting good at it. And at some point, you find yourself with whatever this particular skill or objective that you're trying to help somebody with. You wake up one day and they are unconsciously competent at whatever it is you've been coaching them at, and they're doing it. They're doing it automatically, and they're doing it at a high level. And that's the progression that we go through. It's just so hard to do it by yourself. Anybody that has gotten to that point with excellence, you think about every professional musician. You watch somebody on stage in an orchestra or in a rock concert, and they're effortlessly playing their music, and there's something about watching somebody that's at the top of their game do what they do unconsciously, like, and flawlessly, because they've become accustomed and they've developed habits, and they've just their skills are honed. It's impressive. That's why we pay so much money to go watch a professional athlete who's got their body sculpted into excellent condition, and they've got their skills down, where they're doing something at an elite level. We love to do that, and it's amazing when we see that. And it's the same thing in the business world. It's the same thing in the restaurant industry and service industry. To watch somebody that has their skills honed and they're leading people from an unconscious level and they're very competent at it, that's magic. I love to see that, and I've seen that so often over the years, watching somebody go from unconscious incompetence all the way around the wheel to unconscious competence. And it's one of my favorite things to do in the whole world, to be honest, just to help people work through this. But it's important that we understand it well, and we understand what people go through when they're going through this cycle. And that's important. And then, of course, as we move people into the unconscious competence, that's when they have skilled success. They have skilled success at that point. Now, this is a dangerous place at this point, because here's what could happen. If you go all the way around this wheel and you come to the place where you have unconscious competence, and you can do things without really a lot of cognitive thought. You do things because it's automatically, you've already developed all those good habits. The danger is that if you don't keep pushing yourself to grow in other areas, or even grow more in that area, you're going to start to get stagnant. You're going to take your eyes off of success, and it's going to lead you back into unconscious incompetence. Bad habits will start to form. You'll start to get lazy. You'll start to rely on what you've already done instead of what you're going to do in the future. Think about, I've seen this happen a lot of times, where a manager will work really hard to staff their store, and they'll go through this cycle of learning how to staff their store and how to get after it and do the things that they need to do, and they learn the skills, and then they work at it and they become competent at it, and then they become unconsciously competent at it, and then they've got a full staff and they're doing well and people are trained well, and then they kick back a little bit and they take a rest and they don't keep after it, and then one by one, the crew or the staff starts to erode a bit. Maybe it's just the skills that erode. Maybe it's by losing some key people here and there. And so this happens all the time. This happens all the time. And in coaching, this is part of what you'll have to do is to keep people moving forward. We can't just get the spiraling uphill and then have it stop and start spiraling back downhill. That doesn't do us any good. We got to keep moving forward. And so when we get to the top of this and we get to the place of unconscious competence, we've got to change our vision. We've got to readjust it to raise the bar a bit. Maybe that means taking on something that's a bit more of a challenge, or taking on something else. This is where our competence starts to grow, when we can start learning more things. There's so many things to learn in the restaurant industry, and we can't learn them all at one time, but we've got to keep pushing. We've got to keep getting better and better. And so, that's one of the that's definitely one of the dangers to this process, is just becoming stagnant after we become used to things and get into it. So that's the learning cycle and the coaching cycle. Do any of you guys have any thoughts on this? Can you relate to this cycle, and or maybe where are you at on the cycle on what you're doing?
Well, I think probably all of us can relate to definitely the learning cycle. Without a doubt, it's pretty basic, but it's just keeping in mind, like applying it to the people that we work with, every day. We have to, there's probably a huge obligation to keep, our kids safe and keep them moving along. But, at the store or, out at work, just be aware of, people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So you gotta kind of start it simple, and to keep them growing, they have to feel, comfortable and confident in it, and feel like that they're having success, But then there's also people who think that they know more than what they really know. So you're kind of the opposite. You're kind of pulling them back,
Right.
making them aware. Hey, we have to, crawl before we walk, before we run, kind of thing. But I like the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So I can see where people could kind of jump around and be a little bit not aware of where they're at, in the process. And I think that's where the coaching side, kind of what stuck out to me is helping them, work through the learning cycle, even if they, are say better, they just don't have the confidence, or they're say overconfident. But
Right.
being able to be aware of that and how to help them.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Steve. That it can go both ways. People can be unconscious of their incompetence in different ways. They might not know what they can't do, but they might think that they can do something too that they really can't. We've seen that before. I've had people that want to be GMs, and they tell me that they're ready, and they've worked with us for 3 years now or 8 months now, and I deserve to be a GM, and I know I can do this. But the problem is their thought is that if I can run a shift, I can run a store. If I can run a morning shift, and do all the administrative stuff, then I can run a store. If I can do all the management stuff, if I can manage labor a bit, if I can manage food costs a bit, then I can be a GM. If I have the basics of that. And that's not true. That's just not true. You have to, there's a higher level that somebody needs to be at if they're going to be really competent at running a restaurant. You can't just be good at all of the operational stuff. There's a leadership aspect that needs to be there. And a lot of people are really ignorant of leadership. A ton of people are ignorant of leadership. They really just focus on management. And of course, I think that's probably the biggest culprit in our business, is just people that are decent at the management and they think that's all they need in order to move on to that next level. And that's tricky because you can teach leadership to people. You can help them understand the importance of staffing or developing yourself, or help coaching other people, or those more personal and relational things of developing people. And some people just don't buy it. They don't get it. They're incapable in the moment anyway of really understanding it. And so they're just, in their mind, they're just thinking, if I can, if I'm good at making pizzas, I'm good at chopping dough, I'm good at making a schedule, and responsible enough to be on time every day, I can be a store manager. And that's part of that unconscious incompetence. We're just not aware of it. So, yeah. Anybody anybody have any employees right now that are stuck in the conscious incompetence?
Yeah, I definitely do. Got people coming along that are in various, stages of their training, whether that be crew or management. And, you know, it's, you have a good idea of, what they know and what they don't know, but it's always exciting, kind of seeing the light bulb go off, and, how something interacts with something else, within the business. And as they kind of learn and grow and basically become more confident, in their ability. But it is kind of fun, what makes one person nervous might not make another person nervous. So
Right.
you're always just, kind of balancing that.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is a challenging job, and if we don't understand some of these processes and how people move through the learning cycle, if we don't have a good understanding of that, and we just rely on authority to make them do something, we're just going to miss the boat. And so that's why this coaching cycle is so important. Just bringing awareness to people and helping people to be decisive and make choices, and then helping them with their self discipline and their self management in order to get results. That's part of it. So, well, that is the learning cycle model.